Now we move on to our next startup, and this is called ISDA-REGnosys, and they're going to share about digital regulation, which is a solution built by leveraging on the ISDA common domain model.
Hi, I'm Leo Labeis. I'm the CEO and founder of REGnosys, and REGnosys is transforming the relationship between financial firms and regulators. We leverage cloud technology and the power of open source software to digitize the industry's regulatory data framework. The current framework for collecting regulatory data across financial markets is highly inefficient. Banks are subject to an ever-increasing set of reporting obligations from the US to the Asia-Pacific region. These data requirements are usually provided as hundreds of pages of text, and new versions keep being rolled out. The army of experts that is required to translate those into the bank's complex systems costs the industry $10 billion a year. And despite these huge costs, the quality of information collected through this reporting process is bad, because rules are not applied consistently across the market. Banks' operational teams must deal with daily breaks, reconciliation issues, and the constant risk of regulatory fines. So for the tech sprint competition, the G20 public authorities looked for upstream solutions that would enable regulators to easily transmit machine executable instructions to their regulated entities, allowing regulated data to be easily mined and reported. REGnosys' winning solution to the G20 tech sprint is a platform called Rosetta that provides a shared language between regulators and firms. And this solution is based on 3 principles. First, it is community-driven. Using Rosetta, firms can model to a granular level of precision their data and processes. For example, data on financial products, trade events, contract definitions. And the result is an open source industry standard for the financial transaction lifecycle called the Common Domain Model, or CDM. ISDA has been setting standards for the derivatives industry for over 30 years and initiated the development of the CDM, which is now governed by multiple industry organizations. Second, it is functional. Using that same language, regulators can define rules as logical instructions. This logic is automatically translated into executable code, so firms can plug it into their system without having to translate pages of text. The executable logic is tied to specific document references, so firms' reporting process is fully auditable back to the text. And third, it is test-driven. The executable code can be tested live using sample transaction data representing test scenarios and is accessible via API to both regulators and firms. The result is a radical compression of the regulatory implementation process. Translating regulations from law into actual data insights takes years and billions of dollars. It now becomes quasi-real-time, thanks to Rosetta's tooling that is designed to facilitate firms' integration. And for regulators, having access to real-time, high-quality, and comparable data across firms gives them superpowers of supervision. And firms eliminate their risk of non-compliance with a fully transparent reporting process. Our platform is able to deliver consistent reporting at scale through public-private sector collaboration. For the G20 tech sprint, we applied our solution to the derivative reporting regulations from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. We partnered with ISDA to field a global team of industry experts across London, New York, and Hong Kong, combining more than 100 years of industry experience. In just 6 weeks of tech sprint, we solved 4 reporting challenges linked to ongoing global data harmonization initiatives. Derivatives reporting uses internationally accepted data requirements. Our solution is therefore highly replicable across all G20 reporting regimes. The Rosetta platform now supports an ambitious deployment program called Digital Regulatory Reporting. The program involves over 15 global financial institutions and market infrastructure providers, and 8 industry associations and regulators. And the objective is to deploy the solution across any G20 jurisdictions that are revising their reporting regime. Thank you very much. We are REGnosys, and we are transforming the relationship between financial firms and regulators. In time for Q&A.
Thank you very much for the pitch, ISDA-REGnosys. And we now have 5 minutes with the judges. Let's check in with the judges. Judges, do we have questions for ISDA-REGnosys? Just going to look at the chat room. And by the way, don't worry, the time for 5 minutes only counts down once the first judge asks the questions. Okay, we're going to quickly check. I do believe we have a question from Elwin. Over to you, Elwin.
Thank you. Thank you, Leo. Thank you for a very good presentation. My question is pretty simple. It's around scalability. You've talked about ISDA. I just wanted to understand, just from a product roadmap and from a sector perspective, what are your ambitions from a scalability of the solution?
Yeah, sure. So the scalability comes from one of the principles that I mentioned, which is the fact that it's community-driven. So first, you start by establishing a regulatory agnostic model for the financial transaction lifecycle. So this is, works across jurisdiction. It's just focused on what is the business activity being regulated. And then jurisdiction by jurisdiction, firms themselves, rather than working in silo in implementing those regulations, can effectively use the platform to do that in a community-driven way. And the scalability is achieved by effectively that crowdsourcing. And this is tied with our business model, which is of freemium, which means that there is a community version of the platform, which is free and accessible to all. And we currently have 1,500 registered users on the platform across financial institutions, service providers, technology providers. So that's effectively the crowd. And then the actual product delivering the value to the end users, the financial institution, is the paid for version.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now, our second question, we have one from Hugh. Your question, please, Hugh.
Thanks, great presentation. What's been the feedback from some of the banks who've been involved of which problems it solves and which ones are still left to address?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? The question is specifically on the model itself?
Well, if I say the feedback from some of your users of how they found it so far, what's it solved, where are the pain points still?
Yes, sure. So of this 1,500 registered users, we have a core group of like dozens who are really super active on a regular basis. One of the first problems that we solve that is really appealing to our client and our end users, actually the clue is in the name Rosetta. It's about the translation. And it's about facilitating adoption for those financial institutions. So what we've invested is in effectively intelligent tooling for them to do that work of adopting in a self-service way, where traditionally the model would be to call on professional services firms and engage into long and costly projects to do that integration. So now it becomes like completely self-service. And that's what we've invested in. And the feedback from our end users was like, wow, in 2 days, I was able to map, I don't know, whatever system, like foreign exchange, for instance. And after those 2 days, I straight away get an API and I can connect to that. That's kind of unheard of. So an acceleration of like orders of magnitude.